Okay, are we,
We're good.
okay. Welcome everyone to the August 13th Governance and Nominating meeting. We have 3 board members here, so we have a quorum, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good, because we have some things to approve. So first on the agenda is the board vacancy, candidate nominations. I had someone who, in the time it took for us to transfer, me being the chair, was asked to be on the board of the realtor, and she doesn't want to sit on more than one board, which is unfortunate. Maybe I can get her back, but anyway, I did have someone I did send through. I don't know if anyone else has. Anyone else? How many board seats are we? Is it 2?
We have 3.
It's 3.
With Rick.
Okay. And we had talked about looking at manufacturing sector.
Right, we, several years ago, John Lee, who owns Saturn Industry, was on the board, and was a very valuable because of the fact that, we do have 60 plus small manufacturers in the county. And, I think that they do, having,
I'll be right back.
it was once pointed out to me, having people who sign the front of a check on the board is equally as important as someone who's in the not-for-profit sector or somewhere where they're being paid by corporate, because they understand that the rigors of business on a day-to-day basis. I know we had circulated, Lisa, on the back here. I guess this is the board meeting. We had circulated to Jim Calvin a list of board members by location, the current board members.
Yeah, that was
and by occupation, I guess, or by industry sector.
Oh, it's in the back.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes. Okay. So, I guess that's the attendance.
Oh, that's.
But we
kind
can,
of-
but we can look at
Oh, I
this,
thought that
right?
was the sector.
So, we have 17 board members plus 3 ex officio, 4 ex officio members now, with Chris Nardone from the Workforce Investment Board joining. And, we did look at geographic disbursement, so that, we don't have everyone from Hudson or Germantown or Canaan. And I think that perhaps what we should do is, from this committee, is have that material available for the full board, and spend a few minutes going through it, getting input from the individual board members on what type of candidate we're looking for, to narrow it down so that it might make it easier for board members to call to mind people who might fit that profile.
We kind of need to recruit
Yeah,
at
but,
this point.
and I think, but to help the existing board members focus on, okay, who knows someone in the manufacturing business, who knows
Yeah.
someone in
Give them
the,
something to target.
yeah, so we can narrow it for them instead of, we
Just like casting a wide net and hoping you catch something.
yeah. Yeah, the other thing is, I think when you look in any community, if you took the boards of the 10 or maybe 20 largest not-for-profits, you're going to see a lot of cross linkage. And, as you point out, people don't have time to be on 3 or 4 boards, but it might again bring to mind people in the industry that, well, he or she might not be interested because they're on the hospital board or the college board or the personnel board, but it would again remind people of the types of people who serve on boards.
Yeah.
And I know we did that at one point in the region, and it was incredible how many. It might not be the same person, but how many organizations were represented on multiple boards, to the point where, if you wanted to do a merger, you might be able to get the discussion going because, a particular business had people on several similar boards. And maybe for that meeting, Lisa, we could also have a list of people who over the last 5 years, went off the board. Not that we would ask them back.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because you could have ex officio
Right.
members, so they're not voting, but at least they're kind of present and.
Well, those are
Okay.
fixed, right? It's the president of the college.
Yeah.
A representative appointed by the chair of the board of supervisors, which their meeting is tomorrow, and I have to be sure that Commissioner Supervisor Skoda is designated. I forgot to do that last month. Supervisor Scalera is currently the representative for the Board of Supervisors, but he has conflicts with our meeting schedules in the morning. And then you've got the president of the college, whoever that may be, and the chair of the Columbia County Industrial Development Agency, and the executive director of the Workforce Investment Board. So those four, even though they can't vote, we don't have to pick them because it's whoever holds those jobs. But we had a retired investment lawyer, and we had Jim LePen. We had various bankers. We don't have a banker at this point. We had Anita Oatley, but she moved out of the county and left the KeyBank, so she wasn't working for a business in the county or living here. And we're fortunate. At one point, we didn't have anyone with a accounting background, but now with Brian Mahoney, who's a CPA, we're covered there. But why don't we put something together for you to look at by Friday?
Okay.
So you'll have a whole week before the next board.
Yeah,
meeting.
we almost need to reach out to the board members too, to have people think about it, because then I'm assuming at the next meeting, Jim will mention something about attendance.
Yes.
Is not making a quorum. That's the thing that I worry about, and I feel bad for Lisa, and I feel bad for everyone who's showing up.
Right.
And I feel most for the people
The
who are
loan
waiting for
plans.
the loans
Yeah.
to be approved, which is terrible. I feel for them more than anything. And you just want to keep it moving, and obviously everyone here is working so hard to move things along. So at least if we have a couple more members, the chances of having a quorum increase. Great. So we'll wait for Tara to come back. We have draft minutes to approve, but she needs to be here, right?
Right.
And
then
let's talk about the charter.
Right.
It looks like there's some edits.
the edits to the charter really came out of work that Jim and Sarah Sterling did. You can see, other than changing the date on the first page, there's a major change on the second. And basically,
Do you want me to read through what
it's really the last sentence, I think, that has been.
pursuant to the foregoing?
Should the foregoing governance and nominating committee will vote,
Instead of determine.
yeah, will vote upon which candidates to recommend to the board, to the full board for election to the said board. Determine which candidate. So.
Okay,
you don't
so
have-
it's
you no
just,
longer have
it's
to
just
have a
changing it to
discussion.
vote. Right,
You no longer have,
okay.
well, you no longer have a moving target as what's how you do
Yeah, it
Instead of-
it will happen in a vote.
this. What you're doing here is you're determining that this will be done by a vote and
Yeah.
incorporating that. The second is the composition of the committee shall be comprised of at least 5 independent directors of the corporation. Previously, it said the size of the committee is determined by the board of directors, but we're incorporating that here. Then up at the top, the chairperson of the governance and nominating committee shall be selected by the chairperson of the board. Normally, it had said by the members of the committee. Normally, the only committee that the committee itself selects the chair is the audit committee, because it's truly it's independent of the board itself as a reporting entity. And I do think that I don't think I have ever seen it where it would have been an issue here, but I have on other boards where if there were 2 or more or 3 people on a committee who had voted against the election of the current chair, they could.
Overthrow the.
They could start infiltrating, right, make it difficult, and you want.
A mutiny.
Yeah, well,
You don't want a mutiny.
well, not that so much, and you want people who, are not just going along to get along. Every board should have a curmudgeon to ask those tough questions. Really? And, so, but I do think that is, cleaning that up is a. And then we took out on the next page that the committee previously said, shall develop and recommend the slate of officers to be elected at the November meeting. And it now says.
Just the same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Something changed there. Or nothing changed?
I'm wondering if we were hoping to make it the October meeting.
That's,
Because if you're recommending, I'll double check with Jim, but, and Andy. But I think the issue was that, we wanted to elect the officers prior to year end, so they weren't elected at the January meeting and
you're
year end.
only recommending a slate, you're not voting.
You're not voting on it.
Well, I
You're
think
just
it wasn't
recommending
the plan that we wanted to be able to have the officers in place on January 1, not on January 29th, when the board meeting was held. So we would, I think that was, but let's go back and review that. I think the thought was, if someone's term as an officer's term should be up December 31st and not wait till the fourth Tuesday of January to elect the officers.
So there's not a lag time.
Well, they're not ducks or,
Right.
I'm just waiting around to be replaced because
Yeah.
I know I'm out. But we'll check with Jim and Andy on that. And then, I think when you have those lines out on the left with no line change, I think it just means they changed how many space lines are between them.
Well, we will, when Sharon gets back, we'll vote
Well,
to
once you have a
present
quorum,
this to the board.
once you have a quorum at
We
the
don't
meeting
need to.
to start, if someone leaves, you don't lose the quorum.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think she's here.
I think she had to go to a fire.
Oh, she left.
I think she left.
Oh, okay.
But I think once a quorum is established, and you have two, so you have quorum and two of the three who are here in the
Okay.
quorum vote, yes,
So-
you could,
All right,
pass
well,
both of these.
so let's go back. Well, the candidate nominations
You and I
need to
will
be,
have something prepared for you by Friday to review
okay, and I'll present that to
to
the
the board,
board.
and we can send it to the committee members beforehand,
Okay,
as well as the board.
and then will we need approval from the board?
Well,
Or no, we just need approval here to present it to the
Yeah.
board, right?
And I think it's only, you're suggesting a process, it's not a policy or.
It's not a policy or a charter change or anything. Okay, so the first thing we need to vote on are the draft minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And then I second the motion and we're all in favor, so yay, aye, it is
Without
approved.
so ordered.
And then the charter, the governance nominating committee charter needs to be approved as well.
I'll vote to approve. Do you want me to say pending the change of the
We're gonna
date?
recommend it to the board with seeking further input from the board on that.
Yes.
Yes, and I second that, so we're all in favor. And then, okay, moving along to the calendar for review.
Jim asked that Lisa send it out to the full board for review and not have it recommended until everybody had a chance to review it. So I think Lisa took the star off that it was going to be voted on. And, I think Lisa does a great job making sure that, all this fits together. I think, at times you look and you say, how many times should each committee meet? Should it be every other month? Should it be every month? Should it be quarterly? And I think that, at times there is a little bit of overkill here, where we might have 6 of these meetings, but having them on your schedule and canceling them is, I think, better than trying to hold special meetings.
Yeah.
And, if you take a look, I think the finance committee, is, a good example. It's January to get, look at the previous, the last month, which is the end of the quarter, March, so that you can, approve the audit and the financial statements. And, April.
April and December.
Yeah,
In October.
and then October, so you
It's
can.
quarterly.
Yeah, so it's
Basically
quarterly.
Quarterly and.
But it's not at the end of each quarter, because you're trying to do it so that you're approving, retaining the auditors, approving the 990, so it's based on when Lisa has to file documents either with the IRS or with the power of the authority budget office.
And then I know at the annual meeting we get this also, but maybe we encourage people we'll see how the attendance is, but maybe we encourage people to put this in their calendar now. So if they see a conflict all the way out, just let Lisa know as soon as possible, so we're.
Well, and, we've had this in some other boards.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe it's better if people put it in a year in advance instead of waiting for the invitation to the
Well,
meeting.
What we've done on some other boards that I'm on because of this very issue, and, we may ask Riley to help Lisa with this, is where, one day you get from here, a
Yeah.
calendar invite.
Yeah, for all of it in advance.
Yeah, and you'd have to do each of them individually, but I'm sure there's a way you can program it to, get it out there.
Accept,
Then you have to accept, reject, or put
Yeah.
tentative on your schedule.
Yeah.
Rather than,
Because then it's in everyone's calendar maybe.
I mean, right now, I give it to my assistant in my real estate office, and she sits down and puts them in for the year, because,
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Can she help me?
Yeah. We'll coordinate that, so that there's a way to do it so that it's the least onerous to the administrative side, but, and then, one thing that we haven't gotten to, but comes up, and I'm not, let's complete this conversation.
Okay,
So that would be.
okay, so that's the calendar for review.
Right.
And is this presented are we presenting this to the full board also?
Well, Jim wanted to have a discussion about it rather than have the executive committee or the governance committee just tell people here's what it is.
Yeah.
And we have time, because normally we don't. Lisa's got this out for us, far in advance, so.
Okay. The board and committee attendance, did we just talk about that at the same time?
I think summertime, maybe the July and August issue is more calendar related, because we have had fairly good full board attendance. So what are these numbers? Oh, I see. How many? It's 7 out of 7, 7 out of 7.
Right, because we've only held
Right.
7 meetings.
So if you look, Dr. Drummer was not able to make 2 meetings. Justin was not able to make 2 meetings. Derek, but I believe Jim has spoken to him. Ken has missed 2 meetings. I think we have to talk to the new members. We need them here. Virtual is not really. Virtual in my mind is you're not here. Unless you're sick and meet the criteria of the statute that allows you to participate.
Maybe people need to be reminded of that. It's the same thing happens on the ZBA board. There's one board member who is always out, but that just puts a lot of pressure on the other board members, because then if you're the person who's coming in person, you have to be there.
Yeah, and I think by adding 3 more voting board members, but basically, hello.
There she is.
it looks, we're talking about the board member attendance.
Yeah.
On the back page here. Yes, anyone that's missed 2 out of 7, I'm considering normal.
Yeah.
And then, so the outliers are 2 out of 7, 1 out of 4, and, Scalera is gonna go off. But, you know, I do think, bylaws say that the chair of the board would discuss with anyone privately whether they want to continue to serve based on their inability to meet the attendance requirements. And Tara, one of the things we did say was that to the extent that someone wants to go on Zoom,
Yeah,
it doesn't work. I mean,
I know.
and it may result in, you know, some people not being able to serve on the board, but, you know, unless you're incapacitated, you have to be here. And I think they might think that, well, I can't be there, but if you're not here, it doesn't
I
help.
feel like the only time it makes sense to go on Zoom is if, you know, you're traveling and there's a full board meeting and you just don't wanna be out of touch of what
Yeah.
happened. But the
Yeah.
reality is the time, the
But
lag even is very confusing and disruptive
But a couple of times it seems that people think that they're
instead of.
fulfilling their obligation by being here. It does raise some of the issues, but, you know, I think we've had relatively good board
Yeah.
participation over time. And, you know, I guess, you know, are there some ways that we can would it be better if we went to a 60-word written report? In other words, 60 words on each topic, so that you have that in advance. It would make the board meetings have more time for some type of educational or informational 15-minute session. You know, it would make the board, so, you know, once you get everyone here, how do we make the board meetings more effective? And, you know, maybe there's some discussion here on that, or maybe there's some discussion at the full board. I know Jim has asked that we try to have a 10 to 15 minute presentation on, you know, Martha did one on the loan program. Jim and I did one last month on the regional council program. You know, we just got notified from the governor's office that the summit restaurant and banquet hall project in Philmont just got a $1.5 million Restore New York grant. So maybe there's a presentation on the Restore New York program and then 5 projects in the county that have gotten money. You know, so part of this committee's focus could be on, you know, how collectively do we improve with Jim, and you know, we can tie this in perhaps on the agenda for the next meeting. The actual structure of the board meeting. He's, I think, made it a little more efficient, moving some of the things to the bottom. But, you know, and I guess, you know, obviously the biggest issue is, you know, how do you curtail my wanting to share information with you at what level? You know, some people probably think it's not enough. Some people think, oh my God, here he goes again. You know, so I mean, it's and there's so many facets of what we're doing.
Well, that's part of why people should be coming to the board.
Yeah,
But you've got your
it's fascinating
connection
stuff.
to all of it, yeah.
Today we have I have someone out in Syracuse, a student that we use sometimes, a law student. There's a digital equity conference relating to broadband. And, you know, I have some people who aren't sure that we're doing enough for broadband, but we've gone from 13,000 unserved and underserved addresses to under 1,000. So I'm pretty happy with how we've done the work. But the issue there is not only how do you get now that the government has stopped providing the $35 a household for people who can't afford internet, that they have to, provider has to lower the price. Once they get the internet, what if they can't use it? How do they get training? How do they, you know, they have a 9-year-old Mac, you know, how do they get a new laptop? I mean, and again, there's social service agencies and others that focus on that, but you know, having the ability to have the hookup of the internet in and of itself doesn't necessarily ensure that there's equity across the board as to how people. So I didn't think it was a prioritization for me to go. So he could go, he'll write up a report. And Columbia County will be represented at the statewide conference. So it's not, and I think that's important for the state broadband officials who are speaking, that, you know, Columbia County
There's
sent
a
someone.
time.
You know, I mean, there's a value to that.
Yeah.
But, you know, a 5-hour round trip drive and a 6-hour conference.
No, you don't
but-
need
Yeah, I don't even know if Jessica was here that I would have sent her, but no. So I do think that that would be an interesting 15-minute discussion. But again, maybe at our next meeting with Jim here, we could, you know, review 2 or 3 of the agendas from the past 3 meetings and see, you know, why it's all fresh in your mind. And we have the minutes there. We could see what you might want to do to tighten up or improve the efficiency and flow of information at these meetings.
Because what you're saying is that you think the attendance for some would be poor because they're not engaged in the information.
I think sometimes the attendance is just, we all live a busy life.
Okay, me too, totally.
And you know, or, you know, you look at Sean Sawyer, well, you know, I know he had his annual, the
Yeah,
day
they
of
have
the
a lot
meeting
going
was
on.
his annual fundraiser in New York City. I mean, you know.
Right.
And I think by having the calendar in advance, but like our annual meeting is always the 4th Tuesday of April. Some people's annual fundraiser is always the
Yeah.
4th Tuesday in April in New York. But, you know, I think we've got pretty good attendance.
I think so too.
Lisa, I mean, it's been,
Overall, yeah, summers are always tough.
Yeah. and we might
Yeah,
decide that, you know, other than, one of the things that we did, as you know from the loan committee, there were 2 people who weren't gonna get a loan. We were at the last board meeting, but 2 people couldn't get a loan because of.
Yeah.
Because, and the committee had approved it unanimously. So what we're looking at is, because it said loans of $25,000 or more needed full board approval.
Yeah.
And we gave them 24.5 or 24.9, was it 24.5. So it was in the committee within, so maybe we clean that up and we look at how can we make it efficient.
I see, yeah.
So that,
Okay.
and I think,
So you don't need the vote to move the.
yeah, and a lot of the rules that we have put in place, were because, you know, 9 years ago, there was, questions as to how the organization functioned.
Yeah.
And, you know, we made it that the quorum had to be, the vote had to be, you had to have a majority vote of the quorum, not a majority vote of the people who were here. So, in other words, if you had 9 people here and it was a quorum, you couldn't pass something 5-4. You had to pass something based on the full 17 members. And, you know, that was because you could have had a, you know, the quorum was of the number of people who were appointed, not the full contingent. You could get down to where you had 4 people voting to spend $100,000 if you didn't have full attendance and you were playing those numbers, where now the quorum is of 17. And the vote has to be 9, right, to win? Lisa?
Yeah.
Where you could have had, the quorum was 9, and the vote could be 5-4. But no, it has to be, you have to have 9 votes. And some of that is not required by good governance or legal requirements, but we were trying to ensure that a handful of big people who showed up at the board meeting were not put in the position of being able to make a vote and look at. And, you know, I think that it wasn't that someone might do that intentionally, but if something got voted, 3 people voted for something and it got approved, someone could interpret that it was not done in an appropriate way. Other thing,
The other business.
the only other thing is, it's controversial, you know, from an administrative standpoint. But, you know, more and more boards are, you know, I've had a couple of board members say, we have too much paper. You know, at my age, I'm not thrilled with boards where I have to go online and go to a portal and log in and, you know, go through some type of a board on-site page.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it's always good to bring it up. And I think that, you know, I don't know that there's an overwhelming desire for it at this point, but I could see in 3, 5, 7 years, as people are used to this. But, you know, I'm on the bank board and we don't get any paper anymore. We go in and, you know, we bring our iPads, which they provide, so it's a different thing. And if we want to print something off for our own benefit, we do. But, you know, it's on the screen and it's on the iPad that they provide us, so that there's no paper. But, you know, at some point, you know, I do think we should continue to look at, you know, what our best practices in those areas and what works for us. And not necessarily every best practice is going to be.
Are you buying FSC certified paper? Do you know?
No, we buy the cheapest paper we can buy.
Yeah, so you can buy paper that's FSC certified, it's the Forestry Stewardship Council. I was in paper and printing for many years professionally, so I feel like ink on paper is very helpful to a lot of people.
And that's
because
my
a lot-
coffee, because I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
think some people are looking at it for the first time here, so I just feel like it's nice to give it to people so if they haven't seen it before.
But there is a
they feel like
digital
it's a-
footprint as well. It's not as if something being digital completely.
Yeah.
You know, the cloud,
Doesn't mean-
that's a fantasy.
Hmm.
You know, a Zoom meeting, it's terrible for the environment.
Yeah.
So, just,
Well, yeah,
And to
not so-
recycle it, you can
It's
recycle
very-
the paper
it's
here.
very like elementary school to think that if you don't print a paper, that this meeting is environmentally conscious, you know, and it's so challenging. I think about it a lot because I use a lot of cloud space in my business. And I have young
Me too.
employees that bring it up.
cloud space is anti-climate,
Yeah,
because you're
It's
running.
still being stored somewhere.
right.
Yeah, so it's a bigger,
And
and
it
it's
could be-
using more power.
Yeah, you could be
Exactly.
halfway around the world.
It's just you don't see it, it's, you know, it's a new way of pretending we didn't make any waste or something, yeah.
Right. Well, it's like, making hydrogen using electricity.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
flow power.
You might still be smudging the world with your carbon footprint, no matter what you're doing.
Yes.
Well, I hope our children figure it out, because, I won't be here.
Did I miss any like voting that you need to? push?
We voted, we
Okay.
moved on, because you were here, we're okay. We're all
We
good.
did discuss the, how to find new board members, and we're gonna try to come up with, some things that I'll get to all the 3 of you, by Friday. That would be a tool that we could present to the board, to try to narrow people in on thinking, on their thought process.
I just think we also might be able to embolden current board members to do it as well, if we give them, you know, things to think about in their own network. In the same way, like, I meet people in town all the time and refer them to Martha.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we can
Totally.
maybe we can kind of revisit how board members do that, and
One thought I had was,
Board members.
you know, we have a list of about 250 people, businesses that we prospect for membership every year.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, if someone who's not a member, but might make a good board member, they have to become a member, so maybe it's, you know, it dovetails there too. And, you know, presumably that list, you know, doesn't have I would hope it has 75% of the movers and shakers in the county that have a business that were,
For people who sit on boards who know how to be board members,
Yeah.
because
that's important.
that's part of what you want, it's just people who understand the attendance part of it.
And the division between board and management. Been on boards where the director left and the board had to run the place, and I didn't like that. I was the board member. I'll tell you. All right, I think these are, we want to creep up on continual improvement.
Yeah.
Whether it's, how we function, how we make it efficient. Maybe there's some input board members could give either at a meeting or through some anonymous survey tool as what they would like to see, but let's defer until our board chair is here to discuss those things.
That sounds good. Okay, any other business? No. Oh, there's no public. Okay. So just need a motion to adjourn, I guess?
Second.
Okay,
Sorry to run that.
thank you. No, it's okay. We were